3 minutes. What's going on YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 video. Now in this video, it's actually going to be my quote-unquote message to the devs. And actually a message to all of you two as a part of the community. Because we all are a part of the Division community. Whether it's from Division 1, Division 2, it doesn't matter. We're all a part of the same Division community. Reason being is we're all fans of it. We enjoy this very unique type of live service looter shooter. However, the way that the developers have treated us not only in the past, but also the present, kind of makes me worried about the future. And I'm going to explain everything why. And that's why this is a message to the devs, because I personally have been around in this franchise and this community long enough to write down a whole timeline to help explain my position on this. And my position being the developers, I guess the businesses, Ubisoft, Massive, they are really screwing us over as a community. Not only that, but it seems like they could give two craps less about how we feel, about what we want, and about anything that has to do with this community. And it's so sad. So sad. I'm not even going to compare them to the Outriders devs, because the Outriders devs have done every single thing the community has asked. They have been transparent, and they tell us day to day what's going on with the game, and it's a demo. So anyways, let's get away from Outriders. We're not going to talk about that or Destiny. We're just going to talk about the Division. But in order to do so, we're going to have to take a little history, field trip. So starting off with Division 1. When the Division 1 came out, it was a very, very unique looter shooter. So much so that, it got all the praise. It made a crap ton of money, and a lot of people enjoyed it. There were, however, a lot of downfalls with that game. We're not really going to talk about that too much. We're going to talk about how the developers and the community have reacted to all of this since the beginning. So starting off, Division 1. Great communication from the dev team. In Division 1, they started with what is now, state of the game. And when they did this in the Division 1, it was very public friendly. It was very consumer friendly, community friendly, and community driven, where you would have, Hamish and Yannick. They would be on State of the Game together. They would read comments. They would laugh. They would, answer whatever, questions we had for them. And they would try their best to, bridge this gap and make the community and the development team, happy. At first, this started to work pretty well. The execution was okay. Sometimes they would say things that would get them in trouble, and then they would kind of go, dead silent for a little bit. Other times they wouldn't really tell us anything, and then it would just be like, boom, here's an update. But overall, as a community and as the development team, they knocked it out of the park for Division 1. The transparency when it came to communication was pretty much there the whole time. They gave us, active timelines, whether it be for updates, global events, anything like that. They would give us, these roadmaps, these timelines to go off of. And it made it really easy. I'm almost done talking about the first division, just so you know. So with that being said, we entered, year 2 of the division, and they were basically, wrapping it up and getting us ready for the Division 2. With that being said, the developers went on State of the Game and told us, hey guys, hey girls, 1.8 is going to be the last major update of the division. You're going to have 1.8.1, 1.8.2, and then finally 1.8.3. And then we are done. Not only did that wrap up everything story-wise, it wrapped up everything for the shields. They introduced these shields that you had to complete for the Division 2, and they introduced that and then wrapped up the game. It was done. They actually told us. They told us like 3 updates beforehand. When they introduced the West Side Pier, they introduced Resistance, and they also introduced the Optimization Station. A lot of these are starting to sound familiar. Now this happened in the Division 1. Now let's build up to the Division 2. So the developers had us in a good mood. They had us hooked, and they were talking to us. There was transparency. Everything was there. Everything was working. Now let's transition to the Division 2. Now the Division 2 had a rocky start from the get-go. Reason being is they released all of these details about pre-ordering the Division 2, getting, what was it? I think it was like 5 days early access, and then they had like the Gold Edition, and then they had the Ultimate Edition. Now, I myself bought the Ultimate Edition, mainly because I was a content creator for the Division, and obviously I'm a content creator for the Division 2. Now, when this started to fall apart right as they were releasing this information, because it stated that year 1 DLCs would all be free. It also stated that you would get early access, you'd have private beta, public beta, and then there was another thing, controversy. The stash. So a huge problem, and I think Gamey Daddy piggybacked on this earlier, is that the stash, it was supposed to be, I think it was 100 more or 150 more for players that had the Ultimate Edition compared to players that just had the normal edition. Now, after a whole bunch of backlash, because that was basically pay to play, after all of this backlash, they ended up reverting that decision, and whoever had the Ultimate Edition basically got a bigger stash at the beginning of the game, and then once everyone was level 30, they all had the same stash space. So it kind of, screwed over everyone that bought the Ultimate Edition. So that's, strike number 1 against the community there, because you're promising something. The community is like, well, that's not fair. You're making us spend money. And then they say, okay, well, screw you. We'll revert it. You've already spent your money, and we'll just make it to where you're the same as everyone else, even though you spent maybe $100 more than everyone else. And this kind of upset all of the Ultimate Edition agents who had pre-ordered it and had already spent their money. And so let's go to the next part. Year 1 free content. Okay. So we go into the content aspect of the Division 2 for year 1. Now, if you were a Ultimate Edition holder, you got what was called classified assignments. I'll show you as soon as this loading screen is done. Now, basically what happened is everybody that has the Division 2 was able to get episode 1, 2, and 3 during year 1. Those are the DLCs. Each of those, gave us something new. We got Camp White Oak, Manning National Zoo, the Pentagon, Coney Island. We got all those within year 1. The problem here is everyone had access to that. Nobody was special. So what they did, and now I can show you, is they gave us these classified assignments. So if you were one of those, that pre-ordered it, got the, the Holy Crap edition, you're able to get these classified assignments. Now, I believe there's 8 of them throughout the map, and it's only in Washington, D.C. And these were only introduced in year 1, and, whatever. So here's the problem with this. So the Ultimate Edition or Gold Edition, whichever one, gave you these classified assignments. These are supposed to be unique. They're supposed to be something special and, exclusive content for, the money that you paid. However, if you can see right here on the left side of your screen, the only thing you got out of it were 4 collectibles to give you some background lore or story, and then it gave you a backpack trophy. And not just like a good backpack trophy, not really, anything worth really mentioning. In fact, let me see. Here's one right here. And it's a cat donut. Yeah, it's cute and all, but I didn't spend all that money to have some classified assignments that gave me a backpack trophy. So this hurt the community as well, because every time these classified assignments came out, nothing came with like exclusive loot. There was nothing special. The only thing was a backpack trophy and maybe a little bit more, story added to the lore. But besides that, if you bought, these editions of the game, you were basically screwed over. It was not worth it. Not at all. So that put the community in an uproar just from the first year of this game. And I'm sure a lot of you know by now, we are entering year 3 of this game. So I actually have quite a bit more to talk about. So let me go back to my notes here. So we've talked about the Division 1, how everything was good with the community, the developers were engaged, and then we transition into the Division 2, and just from the start, we had problems with the Ultimate Edition, with the stash spaces, with the classified assignments, with the free DLCs. It was just falling apart at the beginning. Now, let's back up a little bit so that we can explain my message to the devs. So at the end of the Division 1, there were certain problems within the community, mainly being with the Dark Zone. So in the Division 1, there's just one big dark zone. I believe you can have 24 or so players in it at once. And yeah, I won't lie, it was pretty toxic. If you picked up some gear and someone saw you do that and they want that piece of gear, they could easily shoot you in the back, take your gear, and that's it. It was very cutthroat, if you understand my meaning. And a lot of people did not enjoy this, because not only was it cutthroat, but all of your microphones were enabled no matter what. So as soon as you walked out in the dark zone, there could be racist people out there spitting racist things. There could be anything under the sun, and it was quite a bad experience for a lot of solo players, a lot of younger players, and just a lot of toxicity that drove the community away from it. So then you had these PvP tryhards, and then you would have like the PvE tryhards. It was starting to split the community into two. And that's why they started to go away from PvP and they started giving us more PvE, because they understood that the PvP community was bringing all the toxicity, not only to the community, but just to the game as a whole. So, doubling up on that, we have the Division 2, right? So what the developers tried to do is they tried to listen to us. They tried to listen to the community and give us everything we wanted. Everyone was crying and complaining about, hey, so-and-so's calling me a bad name, help. And they were like, okay, well, now you can toggle VoIP. And I believe I could show you right now. Let me go to the settings. Right here. And they made this because of the Division 1. Because a lot of people were upset that, so-and-so was calling them names. They were upset that, hey, I couldn't go to the Dark Zone without hearing, someone call me some, whatever slur. And it really made the developers, try hard to give the community what they wanted. So another part of it was a lot of people were complaining, hey, the dark zones are too big. Every time I go rogue, there's 20 other agents shooting me, and then I have to run all the way up to DZ9, all the way down to DZ1. There was a lot of problems. So what did they do with the Division 2? They gave us 3 dark zones, because they figured, why have one big one? Shouldn't we have multiple? And then they went a step further and they said, well, why have 2 dark zones when you could have 3 dark zones? In theory, this sounded cool. In theory, it's a great idea. However, in execution, it's horrible, because now you can only have 12 people per dark zone, and it has completely flipped everything that we knew and loved about the Division. Now, when you go into the dark zone, nobody is talking to each other, and if they are, it's very toxic. Just go check out some other YouTubers. I mean, there's so many YouTubers out there with like exposed videos and toxic videos, and it's all the dark zone. And now that's all you have. So the PvP community, when it came into the Division 2, was in shambles. We were upset about the dark zone. We were upset about the player, participation in PvP. We were upset about how the dark zones were executed. And then let's talk about conflict. Now, conflict was kind of a 2.0 from the Division, where they had last stand and they also had skirmish. Now, in the Division 2, they had skirmish, and then they had, what was the other one? Domination. Which was okay. Domination was basically a watered down version of Last Stand, and then they dropped it from 8v8 back down to 4v4, which was okay, whatever. However, conflict was not touched at all ever since. They did the one update to try to fix the normalization, and then they added the team elimination, but then after that, it was swept under the rug. And even with Year 2 and Warlords of New York, and even now, if you go and do conflict, it does not properly level up your watch, and it's basically like the developers were just done. I'll probably die here. Now, so conflict, PvP in shambles. No one really, enjoys it that much, except for the tryhards or, the hardcore players. As far as the DZ, they tried to listen to us, but the execution was horrible and it fell apart. So the PvP community was upset yet again. So you're upsetting the community with the Ultimate Edition, you're upsetting them with the PvP, and then you're upsetting them with, different sorts of microtransactions. And that kind of goes into... let me see if I skipped anything. Boop, ba-doop, ba-doop. That kind of goes into Year 2. So Year 2 gave us Warlords of New York. Now, Warlords of New York, right here, was added about a year ago now, because now we're about to enter Year 3. Now, before this happened, the community was, like I said, in an uproar. And that led to the state of the game completely disabling all comments. So the only way you could talk to them now on State of the Game was to actually find them on Twitch and then try to comment through Twitch. Because when they stream through Twitch, it also goes on YouTube, and they completely disabled that on YouTube. It got to the point where there were certain State of the Games where they would get more dislikes than likes, which was a huge problem when it came to the community. So entering Year 2, skill builds were not a thing. Basically, you just had tank builds and DPS builds. So they came up with Gear 2.0. So Gear 2.0, they added in amplified damage, which, is now the new meta. They added armor regen, which is also a part of the new meta. And they also introduced skill builds, which if you have played a legendary anything, you have to have a skill build, which is the new meta for PvE. I think for Legendary Summit, I'll run a skill build all the way up to floor 100, and then when I finally see the hunters, I'll, put on a DPS build. But you can see where I'm going with this. They tried to change up the gear, and it worked for the most part. There was definitely more variety, but as far as the balancing, it completely destroyed it. We had a whole bunch of PvP balancing issues, not to include, the Lady Death, not to include, one-hit sticky bombs, one-hit mortar turrets, and what have you. So now PvP is in an even worse position than it was previously, because now you have all of these players running the same 3-4 builds. I think I've released, Intimidate, Adrenaline Rush build. I've probably released about a dozen of them, and that's how, how top tier it is. And that was all introduced in year 2. Also, if I'm not releasing a Intimidate, Adrenaline Rush build, I'm doing a skill build, because those are literally the only 2 things you need to run. You could run it Intimidate, Adrenaline Rush with Armor Regen, you could run it with DPS, you could run it any way you want. It's still the meta when it comes to PvP or PvE. In fact, it's even more amazing in PvE, because you don't have the nerf to the Lady Death or Adrenaline Rush. So you're still, running around God mode with, the meta. And then, it just keeps spiraling down, where the developers are saying, hey, this is building, build diversity, and it actually did the exact opposite. So with Gear 2.0, they also took away all of our talents from all of our gear except for the chest and the backpack. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear is, but I think it was last week he released a video, and he was, going through the the gear talents and weapon talents, and he was, doing numbers, talking about which ones are actually being used, which ones are not. And it is so sad to see that we only have talents on chest pieces and backpacks, and less than half of them are even being used. So we got rid of all of these talents on all of our other gear, and then the talents that we do have now, only about half of them are even being used. So it completely destroyed our build diversity. So you can see where this is just a negative on a negative on a negative, and we're just steadily going downhill. So the community, again, reaches out, tries to, get the developers to understand, hey, this is a problem. Hey, this is a problem. This needs to be balanced. This needs to be fixed. And right after that, probably maybe a month after, we started getting the glitches in year 2. Whether it be the shield glitch, the armor glitch, the DPS glitch. Now, the DPS glitch was the biggest one, because the DPS glitch introduced our first ever, and maybe our last, ban wave. Now, this is another thing that the developers really screwed the community over with. Because you have other companies like, Bungie, where they have games like Destiny, and they tell the community, hey, we know that this exploit is out there, enjoy it while you can, because we're going to fix it. And that's the way the community should be, what's the word? That's the way the developers should talk to the community. Hey, this is a mess up on our end. This is not your fault, and we are fixing it, so have fun, while it lasts. Which is fine. There's no real problem with that. However, what the developers for the Division 2 did was said, screw you, if you're going to do this and make our game a laughingstock, we're going to ban you, and everything you did during that time, we're going to roll back all of your gear and weapons, and you're going to lose everything you had. Now, it doesn't take a scholar to know that that is a horrible, horrible decision to do to your community. It destroyed, it really did. It destroyed this community. Because then you had content creators that didn't get banned that did it. You had content creators that did not do it and got banned. You had agents that claimed that they never did it and still got banned. And then you had people that were, strutting their stuff around town saying, yeah, I did the glitch and I'm still here. Ha 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 ha. I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible. And the worst part about all of this was that the developers then went on to State of the Game and said there's no false positives. If you got banned, it's because you're guilty. And basically said a big F you to the community. This is horrible. This is not the way to treat your community. And this is why ever since then, it's been nearly a year since this ban wave, and the community is still trying to get back on its feet. The community developers that were around during this ban wave, like Chris Gansler, are not even with them anymore. I had horrible experiences with that developer, and I am personally, thrilled to know that he's not going to be working with this game ever again. However, during the whole ban wave, he was the number one developer that was going on to State of the Game saying there's no false positives. I know for a fact that if you got banned, it's because you did something wrong, blah, blah, blah. And basically just blaming the community for, something that was not the community's fault. How are you going to blame us for a coding error on your side? That's like Xbox. Whenever the Xbox Live, services go down for a little bit, that's like them blaming us. Hey, you owe us more money because our Xbox Live services went down. How could you? It's not our fault. It's your fault. You fix it, and then you say sorry to us. And the Division 2 didn't do that. Instead, they said, hey, you found an exploit, and now we are going to punish you for that. That is not fair for a community to do that, or for the developers to do that to the community. So, okay, we had our ban wave, and it basically cut a majority of our community away from the game. And at this point, everything had already been developed for year 2. We had already started to see the seasons and how the repeated content was just going to keep coming season after season. And then we saw, the raids that came out and all the controversy that came out about the raids. Now, my message to the devs are, why would you purposely do this to your community? Why would you purposely stay silent to your community? Why? In what way does this help you or the community? Now, we kind of had a little bit of this, what would you call it? This like silent stint of time where the developers didn't talk to us right before year 2. And the difference between then and now is that we had content. We had fresh content. By that time, episode 3 had came out for year 1. And episode 3 gave us this. Coney Island. It introduced us back into New York. It introduced us back to the cleaners. And it kind of bridged the gap between the Division 1 and the Division 2. And it kind of got us ready for year 2. So you can kind of see where it didn't matter that the developers really were silent for a little bit, because we were still eating up the content that they had just given us. However, fast forward to a year later, we are in a content slump. The last thing that we got was Title Update 12. And the last big thing that we received as far as content is the Summit. Now, a lot of people hate the Summit. The Summit came out with bugs, and the worst part about all of it is even after a private server, a public test server, and 3 different waves of that public test server, they still released the Summit without it being complete. Yannick went on to State of the Game and said, we know the Summit has problems, and after the release, we will steadily update it and try to fix things within it. So they were purposely giving us content that was not finished, and polished off. It just showed complete lack of care. It just showed a complete lack of time management and communication. You're going to sit there and say this is replayable content, but the only thing replayable is that you have to do these floors over and over to either get the Ridgeway's chess piece, to get the new accommodations that weren't out when they released it, and it just seemed very, very, half-assed, if you will. And then this brings me to, well, kind of where we are now. That the summit was TU11, and then TU12 gave us the optimization station. Now, going full circle, yes, in 1.8 of the division, they gave us the optimization station. Yes. In TU12 of the Division 2, they gave us the optimization station. Okay, of course. Now, the problem with this is that in the Division 1, it was clearly stated to the community that, hey guys, you are going to get 1.8.1 all the way to 1.8.3, and that's going to be it. After that, we are going to build anticipation and hype for the Division 2. They told us that, straight up. Now for TU12, they gave us the optimization station, and instead of saying, hey guys, we should, mentally prepare that this is our last major update that we have planned for this game. They never did that. Not once. And in fact, there were several content creators that were like, well, with the optimization, doesn't that mean this game's done? And then you had people like me that were like, nah, it couldn't be done. Like, they didn't say anything. They're just giving this to us early, and they're going to get us ready for year 3. Man, was I wrong. Apparently, that was it. They were done. And even more so, they never told us. Ever. They didn't even, tease that it was done. And in fact, in December, they had State of the Games with Yannick, Hamish, and Johan, and Trick Dempsey. They had a State of the Game with all of them. And instead of saying, hey, this is our last major update that we have planned, this is what we have planned for the future, blah, blah. Instead of doing that, they just said, we have some exciting stuff coming for you next year. Hope everyone has a good holiday season. And as soon as, 2021 rolls around, we're going to be right back with the State of the Game and let you guys know what's coming for year 3. It was a complete and utter lie. It was a lie. They did that to keep the community happy during the holidays. And it actually worked. It worked. I think they threw the game on sale again, so they got some more new players coming in. But then that was it. They left. And then during that whole holiday stint, we're like, okay, when's the State of the Game going to come? And then finally we heard, okay, February. February State of the Game's going to come. We're like, okay, cool. During which we learned that TU12 was the last major update of the game, which nobody knew. And they claimed that a lot of us did know, which was pretty funny. Whoever wrote that should have been fired. That whole message from the devs and then them saying, a lot of you already knew TU12 was going to be the last. They should be fired. Whoever it was, I'm sorry. You should be fired. Now, saying that threw the community in an even bigger uproar. So now we have a game where the developers are not clearly communicating with the community. We have a community that is pissed off, whether it be for lack of content, whether it be for lack of build diversity, or PvP, or conflict PvP, or, there's still audio bugs in the game. There's still certain glitches in the game that have still yet to be fixed. There is still an audio bug on the Dark Hours raid, and it's been well over a year, and it still has not even been addressed. There's just so many underlying problems that are just, it's been too long. And it's been, to the point where we have gotten zero communication from the developers. The only person to speak out was Frederick Thylander, said some funny things on Twitter. Trick Dempsey said, the developers are all excited that, they're working on this content. But there's been nothing of substance. And it didn't get, we had to force people like Johan, which Johan, in my honest opinion, Johan is the best community developer we have ever had in the Division franchise. He answers questions on his personal account. He will help you understand certain things. He will point out things when they are wrong from the community without being told. And he is proactively trying to help the community understand what's going on. Now, for obvious reasons, I'm sure he can't talk about what content's being made, this or that, but it seems obvious that they do not care. Obviously, yes, Johan cares, and, I'm sure Trick Dempsey loves the community, and so does Hamish. But as far as, the corporate, Ubisoft, Massive, they could give two craps less because they're making money. They're doing another, they do these season passes where it's $10 per person for the season pass. And I'm sure there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of you that bought the season pass. There's a very slim amount of you that forcefully do not buy the season pass. And I salute you for that. But all the other people that bought the season passes have given them enough money to come out with more content. Now, the problem that I'm seeing here is more lack of communication. We learned from the stockholders or investors call, whatever you want to call it, with Ubisoft. We heard one of the investors ask, "What's going on with the Division 2?" And it was not brought up in any slides. It was not brought up in any context, and it was not even thought to be brought up until one of these investors opened their mouth and asked the question. That shows that they are not planning on doing anything with this. Now, why? Why is that? Is it because the community has been in such an uproar for years now that they want to break it off? Maybe. Is it because they don't want to do PvP anymore? Maybe. I remember that Julian Garrity talked about how his dream is to have a game in the Division world where it's solo and it's all PvE. And times like this right now, I can understand why. Because everyone that talks to them from the PvP community are usually toxic. They usually use strong language that is, really like a deterrent for corporate people. They don't want to hear you talk in such a toxic manner, nor do they want to get harassed on social media by people of that matter. And rightfully so. There's these games where, Destiny, for example, has PvP, but it's a very minute part of the game. You have raids, you have nightfalls, you have strikes, you have missions, and then you have, some PvP. They do, however, do the Trials of the Nine on the weekend where all the PvP tryhards get to come out, dust off the sweat, and, have fun. And with that being that way, where PvP is kind of like a second thought, it does kind of mellow out the community in a way, where the Division 2, you could play PvP every single day, no matter what, and it could be toxic every single day, no matter what. And it's just a huge, huge problem. So I do understand why the devs are going more towards PvE, especially in the Division 2, because the community is normally toxic when it comes to PvP. And that's where a lot of the game-breaking glitches come from. That's where a lot of the balancing issues come from. And that's just where a majority of their problems lie, is with PvP. Because with a live service game, once the community finds something that's broken, that's it. The entire community is going to use it until it changes. So then the developers are forced to use, man hours, time and money to, fix these little things here and there. And it's primarily just through PvP. Now, my ultimate fix to that would be, why not from day one, all changes are only PvP related. You really don't have to nerf weapons and all that in PvE. No one cares. And that's just not the direction that this game and this development team has gone towards. They go towards the, if you use it a lot, we're going to nerf it. If it's used more than all the other weapons, we're going to nerf it. And it has completely destroyed this player base and build diversity as a whole. If you are not running Fox's Prayer knee pads and contractor gloves with your tank or DPS build, you're doing something wrong, because those are the two items that give you the most damage, the most bang for your buck. And the problem with this is build diversity. It does not give us any build diversity. And with that being said, the developers do not care. They really don't. The way that, Red Storm was, taking care of PvP and being, the voices of PvP. We used to always love seeing Red Storm, Terry, and all of them get on State of the Game and start talking about PvP. It was amazing, because we knew something was coming. They were on our side, and they knew how we felt. I think every single time Terry was on a State of the Game, he would always state, we have heard your cries, we understand where you're coming from. I myself personally know that X, Y, and Z is broken. We will fix it. This is what our plans are. They were very, very good with transparency. However, Massive and Ubisoft are not Red Storm. They are not good with transparency. Instead, we are left in the dark. It has been 3 months, and this is my final thought on this. It has been 3 months since we have heard, real news. 3 months. Not only that, but we do not know when or if we will ever hear anything about this game in the future. Our speculations, and a lot of people are, on board with it, is that they're probably going to wait until E3 to tell us anything about upcoming content. And E3 is months away. This isn't like something that's coming out next week. That is literally months away. And we are already 3 months into this silence that we have gotten from the developers. So if you guys have made it this long through the video, my number one thing I want to get across is that there needs to be communication and transparency. I am not looking for the devs to just come out and say, hey, content's coming, it's coming, we promise. I don't care for that. What I want to hear is, hey guys, here is our proposed roadmap. They did that in Division 1, and they did that in the start of the Division 2, where we could see, 6 months out, hey, this is going to come in this month. Hey, this is going to come in this month. And we don't know. And with that, lack of knowledge, it spurs up these speculations. And I don't know about you guys, but when I don't know something and I am, left to guess, 9 times out of 10, I'm guessing the most negative outcome there is. And in this, situation, the most negative outcome is we're not really getting anything. And that is a scary, scary thought, is that we're not going to get much of anything. And until they tell us otherwise, that's how everyone's feeling. Hey, they've been quiet for 3 months. Year 3 is literally next week. Year 3 of the Division 2 is next week, guys. And we have not heard a single thing from the developers. That, in my eyes, is a red herring. That means that something's happening, and it's not good. It is not good at all. Sorry I keep dying. I'm just getting on these, rants, and don't really care too much about the enemies. But what they have done, and it's so sad to say, is that they are pushing away the community. And it's to the point where we have the Outriders. Yeah, Outriders. We have the Outriders demo that is completely free for everybody. I highly recommend you download it and try it. It is a great game. A lot of people are trying to compare it to this or that. It's its own thing, I promise you. I've been playing it non-stop, and I have loved every second of it. It's pretty amazing, truly. And the worst part is, the developers are talking every day about it. They're talking about how they're changing this, they hear that, they're doing plans for this, look out for that, and it keeps the community involved. It keeps the community happy. All we need to know is that, hey guys, this is what we're working towards. This is the proposed timeline, and this is what you should expect. And from just that alone, being transparent and using communication, that tells your community, okay, I could keep grinding this until this. But instead, there is no communication except for Johan, who told us that there will be no level increase to the game. Now, this is a huge problem when it comes to additional content, because all of my builds are already maxed out. All of my builds are already optimized. So that means that with whatever additional content, I can use the exact same builds for the rest of this game. And that destroys build diversity. That destroys any sort of replayability, because I've already optimized my stuff. What am I going to do? Get the same stuff and optimize it again? Of course not. I'm done. And if you're telling me there's no new gear or no new level increase, then that means all I have to do is farm for whatever new gear that comes out, and then that's it. I'm done. All I have to do is farm for whatever new exotic there is, and then I'm done. It makes it very easy to pick up this game for 20 minutes, do what I need to do, and then be done with it. I know I'm sounding negative, and this is probably going to end up being my longest discussion video about this, and it's because it's horrible. I feel for all of you that said this game is dead, they're not listening, move on, do this instead. I'm starting to listen. I'm starting to understand. I'm starting to relate, because I have been, the devil's advocate saying, no, this is coming. I was convinced that, year 3 was going to come off with a bang, that we were going to get some cool stuff. And it's coming to light that year 3, which starts next week, is not coming out with anything. Johan said that we should get news very soon, which I'm assuming they're going to wait until the week that Outriders comes out, just so they can try to keep players on their game instead of running out to Outriders. But I'm telling you right now, day 1 of Outriders, I'm on it. I'm already on it now. I'm in the Division 2 right now because I'm talking about the Division 2. But, this isn't going to stop me from being optimistic. This is mainly, I just want to get everyone on the same page. These developers have screwed us over for years. It's not recent. It's not, hey, this is a fluke. This has been happening for years. I have been positive and I have kept a positive spirit for years, thinking that it's going to get better, because the Division 1 kind of had the same thing. It was patch after patch after patch, and then everything was fixed, everyone was happy. But this go around, it's been patch after patch after patch, and no one is happy. No one. And in fact, if you see all of the YouTube content creators on either YouTube or Twitter, whatever, they've been releasing these polls saying, what do you guys want to see in year 3? And a overwhelming majority have asked for story mode, campaign, and more missions. Not PvP balancing, not PvP, anything. They just want more stories, more missions. And you know why? It's because the PvP community has been shunned since the effing beginning. And I am a part of that community. I think, and I know in my bones, I know it to be true, that they don't give a crap about PvP. You know why? Because from a developer standpoint, PvP has given them nothing but toxicity, backlash, and regret. That's it. The Dark Zone is amazing. I highly recommend it for everyone. It's a lot of fun. However, it can be very toxic. I do agree with that. Sometimes I play in the Dark Zone and I get these people that are, very nice. They'll help you farm. They want to learn, this and that. And then other times you'll get shot in the back of the head, and then they'll emote over you for 2 minutes until you spawn. I mean, it's a very drastic change from PvE to PvP when it comes to the community. So I understand that. However, the way it has been executed, whether it be banning people, whether it be not communicating with people, leaving us in the dark, giving us things we don't want, like appearance mods, no one asked for that. Do not tell me that there's some poll in 2017 for the Division and someone asked for appearance mods. Whatever. Come on. It just shows that either the corporate doesn't care, the developers don't care, or I don't know. Someone doesn't care. And it is making the community hurt so much that people are jumping ship like it's hot potato. Everyone is leaving. And I'm not going to lie to you. I am going to go play Outriders. I am. I'm still going to cover the Division 2. I'll still play the Division 2. But as of right now, there is nothing to do. Nothing. Nothing to do. There is no new content. There is no new season activities. There is nothing new at all. It is now March of 2021, and we have had nothing new since before holiday season of 2020. Now, E3, what is that, about June of 2021? So you're going to make us go 6 months with nothing new? That is ridiculous. Truly ridiculous. So my final thoughts, they need a better development team. If you guys are on Twitter, I have asked them several times to hire me as a community developer. I would love to be a community developer for them, because they need somebody there, like, for real. They really need some better people, because this is just getting out of control. But all right, I'm done yapping my gums about it. I'm sure I'm going to get a whole bunch of comments, why is this so long, blah, blah, blah. And it's because this is how I truly feel. I truly feel that the developers are not going to care. They just don't. We're going to get new content eventually. And when they do, I'll be there. And I'll be happy to, play whatever additional content they have for me. But until then, it's like, what do you want to do? Like, I can do vendor reset videos.
But what? I'm just gonna keep posting the same 5, 6, 7 different builds. Like it just gets redundant. I would rather play another game that makes me happy that other people I know are playing, and do that while the developers here are whatever it is you want to call it, because they need to get their crap together. And until then, I don't know. I'll still be releasing Division 2 videos here and there, but like it's gonna start getting less frequent, because what is it I'm supposed to do? I could play legendary missions and show you guys that. I could do raids and show you guys that. But as far as gameplay is concerned, not a lot of people care for the gameplay. They want the builds. They want the news. But if there's no new news, there's no new content, and there's no new builds, what are you supposed to do? Honestly, tell me in the comments below. What am I supposed to do? So, yeah, don't get mad at me if I release Outrider and Division videos, because I am going to be playing both Outriders and the Division 2. So, I'm warning you right now, I'm going to be posting a lot for Outriders, and I'll be posting for the Division 2. I'll post more for the Division 2 when we have stuff to post. So, if I do like a build every week or two, don't get mad at me. Blame the developers. Because if you have learned anything from this video, it's that there has been a lack of communication from the developers, there has been a lack of content from the developers, and a lack of, community involvement. They are not involving their community. They do shout outs on Twitter using cosplay photos from years ago. They are not showing anything new with the community. They are not showing anything new with the game, anything new with the developers. It is all the same stuff. Nothing is new. And in fact, I am really scared for this new content, because if it is truly just recycled crap, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I love this franchise, and I wish to whatever gaming developer, god that is out there, please hire me on. I would love to help with this franchise. I love the Division. I love the Division 2, but I effing hate. I fucking hate this whole developer community involvement. It's horrible. If this was a business of mine, I would completely change it, because this is leaving the community in the dark. This is creating negative press, and this is creating different avenues for these players to go play something else. Why would I stick around and waste my time with the Division 2? Because I like it? Yeah, of course I like it. But it's still a waste of time if the developers aren't going to listen to you, and the developers are not going to give you new content when you should have got it. I mean, it's year 3 and we get nothing. Like, just let that sit in. Year 3 is right around the corner, and they have nothing, not a single thing. Not a single thing for us. It's pitiful. It's disrespectful, and it's just like beyond stupid. It's stupid in a marketing standpoint, it's stupid in a business standpoint, and it's stupid in a developer standpoint. Why would you do this to your community? You're purposely killing your community and telling them to go play other games because there's a lack of communication and a lack of content. If you have a lack of content, you should be sure to communicate. If you're not going to communicate, you should be sure to give us a crap ton of content. But instead, we're getting none of that, and they're expecting us to just sit here and wait. And I don't know about you, but I'm already on my last leg. This is my final warning to the developers. Get your shit together. If you don't get your shit together, we're all gone. I promise you. No matter how much we love this game, no matter how much we love this franchise, if you're going to keep spitting at us and telling us it's raining outside, we're going to have a problem. But alright, enough about this. This is officially my longest discussion video ever for The Division 2. I'm very sorry, but I had to do it. It's just been weighing in on me. I've been sending Johan and Trick and Hamish and Yannick messages up the wazoo. I've been trying to get in touch with Julian Garrity. I've been trying to get in touch with Terry. I've been trying to get in touch with Massive and Redstorm. And the funny thing is not one of them are talking. None of them are talking. And it's scary. It scares me. It truly does. Because that means that there's nothing to talk about. That means that even if there was, they're not allowed to talk about it, which is beyond stupid because you're just killing your fan base here. And on top of that, we just got news about the Division movie just got a director. And this director, man, do I praise him. This director has gotten so much positive feedback in the last few days, more so than any developer with any part of the Division has gotten ever. This director has talked to people on all social media accounts. He is engaged with the community. He doesn't care who you are. As long as you are nice to him, he's going to be nice to you. And it's everything that we need in a development team. And instead, we do not get it in a development team. And we're just getting it from a director for the movie that is based off of this game. And that is pitiful. It truly is. I'm sure this movie is going to be amazing and I cannot wait to see it. But man, oh man, this game and the status of the community, it's really bad. Anyways, download the Outriders demo, give it a try. This game's a lot of fun, but as far as content, as far as anything new, you're going to be waiting, and you're going to be waiting for a while. I assume that they'll probably give us some news around April, because that's when Outriders is coming out, and I guarantee you they are scared of Outriders, because Outriders is a looter shooter, so it's in the same genre, and a lot of people are loving it. A lot. There's those handful of PvP tryhards that are talking ish about it, but it's all going to go away soon. Don't worry. But alright, sorry again for the long video, but I thought it needed to be said. These are my thoughts. I am Kamikazevondoom. Please hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more Division 2 and Outriders content. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. I truly want to start a discussion. We need this to be shared to all of the developers. We need this to be shared to everyone at Massive Ubisoft that cares about the Division franchise. They need to hear this from somebody, whether it be me, whether it be Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear, whether it be Epic freaking Slayers. It doesn't matter. It could be Gamey Daddy, anybody, but they need to listen. If they are not going to listen, they're not going to have an audience here shortly. So I don't know what to tell them. But yeah, again, Kamikazevondoom, hit that like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.